Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm back, and I have no guest tonight. I have no topic, but I think that there are a lot of things that we can talk about what's happening in the world, what's happening specifically in the Philippines, and what's happening in my life and in your life. Anyway, so before I start, wala talaga akong topic. Anyway, so what have I been up to? Work. And meron din syempre mga things that happened in the family. And aside from that, I've also been thinking about other things that I used to do that I should be doing now and that I stopped doing for the past year or so. So anyway, ang number one, ang i-share ko sa inyo na project ko ay ang aking website. So I finally fixed my website. It's at ceciliasoria.com. So if you're not doing anything and you want to check out my blog where I write about privacy and the law and technology, which are the things that interest me. Interesado din ako sa showbiz, pero hindi siya naka-include dyan. Masyado nang maraming nagbablog about showbiz, so I cannot possibly contribute anything new because my showbiz experience, if any, is very, very peripheral and limited to chismis. Anyway, so I will be writing, I have a blog here and I revamped it because I wanted to have a more professional website. The website actually used to be where I put up my services because I used to do data privacy consulting. But since I'm not doing that anymore and I don't have any plans of doing that in the near future, and since I am paying uh, for the URL and for the ano bang tawag diyan? So I'm paying for Wix basically. So I wanted to make more use and better use of the site by being more diligent in maintaining my blog and talking about the things that I like. Ayan. Kasi before, the prime motivation for blogging and, maintaining this website was for the consulting nga. And aside from that, way back before, I used to blog. But of course, like everybody who becomes enamored with Twitter, medyo nababawasan yung ating discipline to write in not long form, but medium form or longer form than the ano ba, what used to be 140 characters in Twitter, but I don't know how many characters it's allowed now. But anyway, so yan, please check out my blog. I have there a portion where you can subscribe to the newsletter, which are actually just my blog posts that get sent to you via email. So you don't have to regularly go to my website to check if there's something new. So dahil sinipag ako today, there's actually a new post there where I talk about the new updates, new, di ba, tas updates, the updates from the National Privacy Commission, what they have been up to for the past few months, and the plans of the Commission for the remainder of 2020. So, ano ba yung takeaway ko from yung the updates from the NPC? Well, ano ba? What is important, I think, there that we need to remember those people who are involved in the privacy sector is that the NPC continues to do privacy sweeps. So, last quarter, I think they finished 175 entities. Yan. So, medyo marami din talaga silang check ngayon. So, let's not be complacent in our compliance. Okay, ang boring, di ba? Napunta na naman ako sa privacy. Anyway, so also, the reason that I am having this on a Sunday is because, first, I actually just had my official free day yesterday, Saturday, and I didn't want to scramble to come up with an episode. So sabi ko Sunday na lang. Ayan. And I also wanted to try out this time slot whether this will work better with people because there are times when I have a lot of errands on Saturdays and I have to rush home to set up and prepare for Meet the Fresh episodes. Yan. So if this thing that I'm doing now goes well, I probably will consider moving to Sunday time slot. Ayan. Tsaka marami kasi akong mga kakilala na nag-Facebook Live din pag Saturday ng 8 p.m. And I am considering to have these people as guests. But then I can't have them as guests because they're doing their own live shows. O, diba? Ang daming showbiz. Anyway, so that's it. Ano pa ba? Anong pag-uusapan natin ngayon? I think everybody knows that yung topic talaga naman natin today and for the past 4 months is all about COVID-19. And what we're supposed to be doing to stay alive until a vaccine is officially available and accessible. Okay? Kasi iba pa yung issue ng merong vaccine that actually works and makes people well. At iba din yung issue ng ang mga ordinaryong tao ba na katulad natin will be able to access that vaccine. Because the vaccine, remember, will be like billions of people in the world will also be clamoring for that vaccine and they also want to have access for that. So there have been a lot of world leaders, syempre isa na dyan si Tita Jacinda Ardern, who is saying that dapat if ever magkaroon ng vaccine, the distribution should be equitable dahil hindi lang dapat yung mga mayayamang bansa at yung mga bansa na mas powerful ang magkaroon ng access sa vaccine na yan. Dahil lahat naman tayo ay tao at may karapatang mabuhay, di ba? So I don't know if you've heard, but actually, the US, hindi ito sa vaccine, I'm talking about remdesivir naman, which is one of the very few medicines that have been proven to alleviate the effects of COVID-19. Not exactly cure, but to hasten the recovery of patients with COVID-19. So yung remdesivir, nag-order na yung US, I think, if I'm not mistaken, yung production ng company na gumagawa ng remdesivir for the month of July, US lang daw ang makaka-access nun. So just imagine if that same approach will be taken by these rich and powerful countries when a vaccine is already available. So kawawa naman tayo, di ba? Notwithstanding any promises from the bestie of our president that China will make available a vaccine to the Philippines. Okay. So where have I been for the past month? Sige, magkukwento ako. So a relative of mine got COVID. And it actually changed the schedule of everybody in the family. Kasi of course, di ba, gusto nyong, we wanted to make sure that that person got well and that the immediate family members of that person were kept safe and not in danger of also getting that disease. Okay. So what have I learned in the past month that we have been dealing with COVID-19, not just on a vague what's happening to other people manner, but this shit is real and it's happening to us manner. First of all, having COVID, if you have symptoms, is very fucking expensive. So maghanda na kayo ng ₱500,000. And this is, and my relative did not really have severe symptoms. It was just, hindi ko kasi alam kung mild siya or moderate eh. Basta, meron siyang na-feel na symptoms. That necessitated that person to stay in the hospital for 10 days. Okay? And that person spent almost ₱500,000 to get well. So, think about that as you go out tomorrow or make decisions about whether the activities that you have scheduled for yourself and your family is important and that you should go ahead and do them. Okay? So, that is for one person staying in the hospital for 10 days. Okay? Almost ₱500,000. I cannot stress this enough because not everybody has that amount. As in, a lot of people don't have that amount. And of course, that does not even factor in the expenses that you will need to have everybody in the family who has had close contact with that person tested. So the test is not cheap. And we are not talking about the rapid test, which, according to doctors, do not really work. Do not work in the sense that you cannot be confident in the results. Okay? So yung test is the RT-CPR. And when you get the test, depending on the hospital that you get it from, it will range from, well, yung nakita ko online ha, it will range from about 3,000 to 8,000 pesos. That is just for the test. But when you go and get tested, there will be other expenses. Like if you get tested in a hospital and you go through their ER, you will pay the ER fee. Okay? And then kung merong mga doctors that will also attend to you during that time, you will also pay for their professional fees. And then you will also pay for the PPE that will be worn by the person who actually administers the test to you. Okay? There are some hospitals where hindi enough yung test. So, kasabay ng test, they will ask you to sorry, let me put my branding and other stuff first. Okay, so some hospitals will ask you to get blood tests as well as a chest x-ray. Kasi kailangan nang makita ng doktor kung ano talaga yung naging effect nung COVID sa katawan mo. Because that's the only way that they will be able to determine what your treatment should be. So remember, there is no cure. What they are doing is just treating the symptoms. And that is why you have to undergo all of these other tests because they need to know the effect of the disease on your body kasi yun yung i-address nila. Okay? So can you just imagine how much these tests will cost? Okay. Ayan. So mahal siya. And the reason that I feel very strongly about this is because of all of the things that happened, more and more I realized that COVID and the response to it and the survival in the midst of this disease of each and every one of us, it's a class issue. Okay, so may class struggle na effect ito kasi una sa lahat, sino ba yung mga decision makers who decides whether we should open up the economy and people should start going to work? Who decides whether it's more important to try to find a way for people to be more productive at home or mas mahalaga na papasukin na lang sila at magtrabaho sa opisina? And then who decides, kasi syempre, di ba, these decisions actually, may kasama siyang risk assessment. At yung decision maker, ano ba yung risk assessment na ginagawa niya? Buti kung ang ginagawa niyang risk assessment, kasama yung perspective ng worker, kasama yung perspective ng employee. Paano kung ang ginagawa niyang risk assessment, yung perspective lang niya as a manager, as an officer of the corporation, or as an owner of the corporation? So, an example, we have a senator who, in the midst of the clamor of healthcare workers for a timeout, said that parang hindi naman kailangan ng timeout kasi um, kailangan lang siguro maging mas masipag kung napapagod na yung mga tao, 'di ba? Just to work harder. Um, yes, this person is a senator, but at the same time, we have to look at the lens through which this person is looking at the world. This person has several family businesses. So, syempre, even if I'm not saying that that is the primary motivation for what she said, but even if she's not fully conscious of it, ito yung nag-shape ng worldview niya eh. So sa kanya, ano ang importante? Ang importante sa kanya is the economy. 'Di ba? Samantalang tayo namang ordinaryong tao, ang gusto lang naman talaga natin manatiling buhay hangga't walang vaccine. Okay. So yun yung perspective niya. And then, and that's on a more macro level. But on a more micro level, on the level for, yung sa corporations, di ba? Sa mga trabaho natin. Officers will tell us to go to work. And who are these people who decide whether their employees, their direct reports should go to work? So usually, syempre, 'di ba? Swerte mo kung as an employee meron kang medical coverage. But if you're an ordinary employee, your medical coverage is not limitless. Usually it's just limited to, if you're lucky, a few 100,000 pesos. If you're not lucky, konting-konti lang 'yan, 'di ba? Okay. So yun yung context. And then as I mentioned earlier, 'di ba, it will probably require almost 500,000 pesos for you to get well if you need to go to the hospital. So, kung yung health insurance mo will not cover 500,000 pesos, where will you get that? Hindi naman pwedeng hindi bayaran yung hospital, 'di ba? So, kukuha ka sa ipon mo or sa naipundar mo o manghihiram ka, mangungutang, or you will rely on the goodness of the hearts of your family and friends. But definitely, it's very unlikely that hindi ka gagastos at all for you to get well. Diba? Okay, so yan. And you're an employee, you need to go to work. The person who decides whether his or her employee should go to work, usually, dahil managerial or higher up pa siya, will have better healthcare coverage than the ordinary employee. So dun pa lang, yung risk assessment niya, medyo mas na, 'di ba? Kasi mas gung-ho siya na pumasok. Kasi mas malaki yung coverage niya. Tapos, isama nyo pa dito na this person probably gets chauffeured to and from the office or has the ability to bring himself or herself to the office kasi meron siyang sasakyan. So, hindi niya kailangan makihalubilo sa maraming tao na baka mamaya, merong sakit na COVID. Diba? So, yun din. So, yun na namang lens niya ng risk. Iba. As in, significantly different from the ordinary employee. And then when this person reaches the office, this person usually has his or her own office or own room. Hindi siya makikipagsiksikan sa mga ordinaryong employee. And alam naman natin, di ba, na aerosolized yung transmission ng COVID virus. As in, yun yung lumalabas sa mga studies. So, importante yung ventilation. So, kung marami kang ka-share dun sa kwarto at hindi naman well-ventilated siya, talo ka na agad, di ba? Whereas this person who will decide whether you should or shouldn't go to work ay may sariling kwarto. Ayan. And then, apart from that, parang ano din bound din kayo dun sa preferences of this person when it comes to working. Kasi kung sobrang maliit ang mundo niya at hindi niya maarok na pwede ka namang maging productive remotely at ang basihan lang niya ng productivity ay yung nakikita ka niyang nakaupo sa loob ng opisina from 8 to 5, malas mo, di ba? Kasi kung ganun, ang magiging option mo lang talaga, and this person will probably require you to go to the office to work. Yan. And as I've been saying on Twitter for several tweets now, usually, it's the government that has had a hard time um, ensuring the productivity of their employees away from the office. So, hindi ko alam, hindi, actually alam ko. Siguro inertia. Siguro dahil sa hindi din naman naging priority ng government yung digital transformation. Siguro dahil nagkamali din sila ng pagpaplano talaga. So, and siguro din dahil sa resources nila. Because a lot of government offices still in 2020 issue desktops to their employees. So parang, oh my God, di ba? So kailangan ko talagang iuwi yung monitor ko at saka yung kanyang, I don't even know, yun, CPU. Munti ko na makalimutan. I don't even know what it's called anymore because my God, since 2008, hindi na ako gumagamit ng desktop. But anyway, so yun yung context, di ba? Kung ordinaryong employee ka at hindi ka naman ihahatid nung gobyerno, nung office mo, hindi ihahatid sa yung resources sa bahay. So ano yun? Magta-tricycle ka, wala naman. Mag-jeep ka, wala naman. So magbubus ka, dala-dala mo yung monitor mo at saka yung CPU mo. Parang medyo mahirap. Anyway, tapos a lot of government offices still have people whose job is to physically make tatak-tatak the documents na na-receive na nila and then log these in a physical logbook. Or have to physically transmit a document from one office to another by, ano tawag dito? Literally walking from one office to another. So, 'di ba? So, yun pa kasi ang nagiging view ngayon nila is how do we ensure that these people are productive? Kasi syempre nga naman, 'di ba? Kung ang trabaho mo naman ay mag-transmit ng papeles from one office to another, paano mo siya gagawin remotely? O, 'di ba? Actually, pwede naman siyang gawin remotely, but people will need to adjust and people will need to think about what it means to be productive. And I'm not sure if a lot of people are willing to do that work. Okay, so ayan. So ngayon, I think, I'm not sure if it's at this very moment, but I saw on Twitter earlier that because of the mounting public opinion that has been generated by the call of our healthcare sector for a timeout, finally, nagkaroon na ng, I don't know if it's a cabinet meeting or if it's just an IATF meeting, but apparently your president is meeting with the cabinet or the IATF. Anyway, baka at this very moment. So, let's just hope that they come to a decision that will address the problem. Because it's really a problem. Kasi today, congratulations Philippines, 5,000 na yung cases natin. Okay. But nevertheless, if the government does not decree return to ECQ or grant the timeout that is being requested by the healthcare workers, meron pa din naman tayong magagawa, di ba? As we have seen within the day, there have been a lot of corporations ba? Parang wala pa akong nakikita. There have been some businesses as well as the Supreme Court, ayan, Pasig LGU, as well as the Catholic Church or hindi, parang sa Metro Manila lang yata. I don't know. Metro Manila churches lang yata. Anyway, so may mga nagsabi na that they will go on a voluntary ECQ. So sa mga empleyado, pwede ba tayong mag-voluntary ECQ? Dati, ang lagi kong sinasabi 'pag nagkakaroon ng bagyo or natural calamity at nagkakaroon ng decision point ng as a person ng whether I should go to work or not. Sinasabi ko din sa mga office mates ko ng you can always find a job but only if you're alive. So para sa akin, ang bias ko talaga is my personal safety. Kasi nga, 'di ba, you can always find a job but only if you're alive. But of course, the reality is, sa panahon na marami ang nawawalan ng trabaho, ang hirap din naman na sumugal ng you can find a job. If ever you end up surviving this thing, di ba? So, nagigets ko talaga yung hirap nung decision ng whether we need to stay home or we need to go to work, di ba? Anyway, wait lang. So, commercial lang. So, my friend Darwin, sabi niya, ang daming beses na niyang nasasabi yung, if you're alive, yes. Because I always tell him this dati. We used to work in the same law firm and I always tell him this when he asks me kung papasok ako. I will always say, yon, na you can always find a job, a different job, but only if you're alive. Anyway, so yun, so you can surely make decisions for yourself and what's best for your family. Kung meron kayong konting fund saved for a rainy day, then you may consider staying home and working from home instead. Because at the end of the day, you will be the one to make decision for yourself. Like, remember who your boss is and who is going to make a decision for you. My gosh, hindi naman lahat tayo natutuwa sa boss natin, di ba? May mga iba nga dyan na, dati ako, na parang, napapagano na lang, di ba? So, kung yung tao na napapaisip ko na, i-trust mo yung judgment niya on a matter of life and death for you, well, ayan. So, kanya-kanya tayo ng assessment dyan. Anyway, I don't really have a topic. So, I don't know kung ano pang sasabihin ko. Aside from yun, this my rant and presenting to you my beautiful website, which I myself worked on. Thank you very much. And ano pa ba? Yun. I have nothing else to say, guys. Do you have any comments? Do you have any questions? Do you have any reactions about this? Okay, ano pa ba ang i-rant ko? Sige, may isa pa akong issue. You know, it has always been a concern for me that the cabinet or the IATF or whoever is the decision maker for this thing, magmi-meeting sila a few hours before the president decides what type of community quarantine will be implemented across the country. Okay. That has always been weird for me kasi, sige, wait. Ang last time na nagtrabaho ako sa gobyerno was 2007. Okay. So, yan. So, ever since private sector na ako. But based on my experience, sa private sector, pag meron ka kasing bagong i-implement na programa, meron kang bagong produkto, etc., ilang linggo, buwan, or, you know, minsan aabot pa ng taon, na pinagplaplanuhan ito. So, it really bothers me that it only takes your president a few hours to decide what CQ needs to be implemented. 'Di ba? Kasi the consequences are so significant and far-reaching. And yet, it's as if it's such an easy decision to make. And oh my God, bibili lang ako ng webcam. Isang linggo ko siyang iniisip, nanonood ako ng reviews, nagbabasa ako ng reviews. Alam niyo yun? Tapos yung decision ng kung anong CQ yung i-implement takes just hours. It's mind-boggling. As in. Anyway, ayan. Ano pa ba? Wala na talaga akong ibabalita. So, I have several guests hindi, wala pa akong guests lined up because I just really officially got my ability to schedule my day back last Friday. Ayan. So, I have a lot of topics lined up, but and I have already initially talked to the guests that I've been thinking about and considering to invite to talk about these topics, pero hindi ko pa alam yung lineup. Ayan. So, hindi ko alam kung anong mauuna. So, for next week, hindi ko alam kung sino yung guest ko. But, yun, malalaman nyo naman within the week. Kung wala akong guest, no, I will not treat you to another rant because hindi ko na kaya. So anyway, so yan, I will keep this short. There's nothing else that I can say. I just wanted to say hi. I just wanted to tell you that I'm still alive. Ayan. And I just wanted to tell you about my website. Ayan. Ay, wait lang. So, apart from, yun nga, apart from the work and the website thing pala, the past month, I was also fortunate enough to join the discussions on the state of data privacy in the Philippines. So, it was organized by, oh my God, I forgot. But it's PrivSec. So, yan. So, it's an international organization. So, meron silang last Thursday in privacy. So, parang every last Thursday of the month, they organize a talk on data privacy. So, last month, I was one of the guests for that. Ayan. And then also, currently kasi, I am co-chair of the Philippines chapter of the Knowledge Net of the International Association of Privacy Professionals. So, I think 2 weeks ago, ayan, we had a guest, si Nicole Stephenson, who talked about children's privacy. So, it's also very important. I learned a lot about children's privacy kasi there are not a lot of venues where children's privacy is being discussed. That one, I was, for that activity, I was the moderator of the discussion. Ayan. So, for the next few days, I'll continue to blog. Continue to blog kasi nag-blog na ako today. Anyway, so some of the posts that I'm planning to write about will be on the ongoing discussions in Congress on the proposed amendments to the Data Privacy Act. So there are a lot of interesting amendments that are being proposed that I think will require a lot of adjustments for companies implementing privacy. Aside from that, one of the aims of the amendments also is to clarify, kasi ngayon meron pang confusion on the applicability of privacy on certain personal data processing activities like yun nga kunyari yung sa journalism, to a certain extent yung research, ano pa ba, etc. etc. Okay. So as currently written now kasi explicit na the Data Privacy Act shall not apply to blah 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 blah. Okay, but it has always been the position of the National Privacy Commission that the data privacy applies in the sense that you also still need to maintain the data, still need to comply with the data protection requirements, but it doesn't apply in the sense that you don't need to comply with the lawful basis for data processing, which is yung consent, yung whether you're processing it pursuant to a contract, legal obligation, etc., etc. So, yan. So, ang proposal kasi ngayon is, instead of saying that the Data Privacy Act shall not apply, sasabihin na lang na the Data Privacy Act shall have qualified application on the following, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So that will entail some changes if that goes through. Okay. Ano pa ba? There are also some changes being proposed in the definition of sensitive personal information. Yan. So if that pushes through, there will also be changes in the ability of companies to process financial data. Kasi what's on the table now is that there's a proposal to include financial data in the term sensitive personal information. Although nililimit lang pa din naman. Pero kasi pag included yon, may mga ibang companies that will find it harder to process financial data. And these are things that they may need in their operations. Okay. So, with that, di ba humaba din? Wait. I will also be blogging about some new studies that have come out regarding platform moderation, which is very interesting. And also regarding regulation of technology. Kasi yung law and technology, maganda din yan eh. Yan. So, I found some articles that are interesting, but that I have not read yet. But that I will be sharing with you on my blog. Okay. So with that, I wanna, wait, may comment. Did the DOH, okay, hi Mon, so may tanong siya. Did the DOH execute data sharing agreements with regards to COVID test data? I don't think that the DOH requires data sharing agreements when it comes to COVID data because RA 11332 on the reporting of infectious diseases, etc., etc. I forgot the exact title of the law. Actually empowers the DOH to collect information and share information on infectious diseases and including information that will enable contact tracing. But of course, the law provides lang specific offices with whom the DOH can share yung data na yun. So, in the case of the DOH, ang dapat nag-handle niyan would be the epidemiology or epidemic surveillance units. Something. Okay. Hindi ako nakapag-review. So, basta yung ESU. Ayan. And then for local governments, it's not the whole local government that has the right to that data, but only the local health officer and the local ESUs who will be conducting contact tracing. Ayan. So, hindi siya broad. Limited pa din yung access to data. Even ng DOH, there are specific offices within the DOH that will be able to access that data. So, hindi lahat. Ayan. So, yung mga weirdness about some offices requiring actually may ibang offices yata pa nga where they conduct the RT-PCR tests by batch. Tapos naloka lang ako na mukhang dun sa mga group chats ay dun nila sinishare yung kasi nga members ng group chat yung mga taong nag-undergo. So parang dun din nila sinishare yung whether negative or positive. So it's just mind-boggling. And yes, government continues to be, ang dami ko issue sa government. Government continues to be one of the entities na hindi pa fully compliant with the Data Privacy Act. And this COVID-19 pandemic has actually brought that home more starkly. So nakita natin yung nangyari sa Coast Guard. Nakita din natin yung nangyayari sa mga local government units. Nakita natin yung basta, masyadong marami siya. So there is still a lot of work to be done. And I don't think all government agencies already have data protection officer. So at least lang naman, 'di ba, magpangalan na kayo ng person designated. Yun lang. But anyway, so ayan. I don't have a topic, but it appears that almost 1 hour na yung rant ko. So now I will have to say goodbye and as Eliza said sa Hamilton, remove myself from the narrative. So, of your lives for today. So good evening and thank you for joining me. We had a problem with people posting their negative test result. Actually, since sila naman yung nag-post, 'di ba? Ay may consent, quote unquote. Pero yun na nga eh, government should also save people from their stupidity. So, yan. So, parang, oh, okay. Sige, before I end, meron pa pala ako isang one last issue. Wala talaga akong listahan ng ano, di ba? So, one last issue. Because of the call of healthcare workers for yung timeout, di ba? So, a lot of companies nga or a lot of people have been calling for voluntary timeout. So nakita ko nga yung meme ni Dr. Tony Liachon ng kung ano yung pwede mong gawin sa sarili mo for a voluntary ECQ. So when I saw that, it actually got me thinking ng, kasi wait ha, may TV kami, as you can see at the back. Pero hindi na kasi ako nanonood ng TV, as in matagal na ako hindi nanonood ng TV. But I don't know kung, and you guys will be able to tell me, meron pa bang, well ngayon, meron ba tayong mga commercials informing people about COVID-19 and what they should do about it? Kasi parang what I'm seeing at least, pero yun nga, hindi kasi ako nanonood ng TV, di ba? But what I'm seeing at least is that there are a lot of memes, there are a lot of things on social media. But I'm not sure if there are also information campaigns on TV or on radio. Kasi I remember before, yung sa Comelec, I think that is a worthwhile initiative that should be brought back. Di ba, if you remember yung sa Comelec before, na meron sila nung parang information campaign ng paano mo ba bibilugan yung kung boboto ka, paano mo bibilugan or i-shade yung, paano mo i-shade yung bilog, di ba? Sana may ganun din na information campaign ng paano mo ba isusuot yung mask. Kasi marami nga akong nakikita, including our health secretary, na nakalabas yung ilong. Naka-face mask pero nakalabas yung ilong. So parang what's up with that? Anyway, so yun, sana may ganun. Willing to lend my star power, char, in coming up with that. Commercial, but anyway, who am I? Anyway, so, ayan, final na, magpapaalam na talaga ako. Thank you everybody who caught this. And let me know if you think it will be better to have it ng Sunday night or I should keep the Saturday schedule. Ayan. So, thank you for joining me. So, I'm so back, guys. Join me next week. May topic na ako next week. Promise. And then, meron na din akong guest. So, thank you. Stay safe. You have the power to decide who lives, who dies, who tells your story. Sorry, kakapanood ko lang ng Hamilton ulit. But anyway, ayan. So, make a decision that will be best for you and your family. Wag lang kayong umasa sa decision ng mga boss ninyo or ng mayor ninyo or ng barangay captain ninyo or ng presidente ninyo. Okay, kung ayaw nila ng ECQ, baka kailangan tayo na lang ang magdesisyon para sa sarili natin. Remember, you can always look for another job but only if you're alive. Bye guys! Good evening and thank you for joining me.